Derby County have needed a striker for the longest time, and it comes to a point where Derby County are now being linked with new strikers. We've seen Karamoko Dembele as a forward who doesn't seem to be joining Derby County anymore. He seems to be heading to QPR. Derby County are moving on to their next option, and according to Alan Nixon, that is Cauley Woodrow from Luton Town. Now, is this the Luton Town striker I want? No. Is it the Luton Town striker we're probably going to end up with? Yes. Now, before I do get into talking all about Cauley Woodrow, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. We've recently just hit 1,000 subscribers, and now let's push for the next 1,000. And you can help me by hitting that red button and turning on that notification bell. We do Derby County transfer analysis, previews and reviews, as well as League One and Championship reviews and previews for each game week. So make sure you do hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, and let's get in to talking about Cauley Woodrow. Now, here is what Alan Nixon has had to say. Luton Town have big interest in strikers Joe Taylor and Cauley Woodrow as Rob Edwards looks for his own reinforcements. Taylor is being chased by several clubs, but Huddersfield seem the most keen and could even attempt to buy him. Experienced Woodrow has come onto Derby County's radar and may also leave, but the Hatters are trying to sign a forward before letting him go. Now, for me, I'd prefer us to go and get Joe Taylor, but obviously that seems like a deal which is probably out of our budget. Now, it's something which we are going to have to look into. It's something which Derby County obviously need in a striker. Now, Cauley Woodrow probably fits the mould of what Paul Warne wants more than Joe Taylor does, but obviously Joe Taylor is still young and developing, whereas Cauley Woodrow is sort of about to hit his 30s and coming towards sort of like the twilight years of his career. And I do feel in that attacking area, I think every single one of our strikers, apart from Dajaune Brown, is 30. And if we then extend that to the forwards, the only one that isn't 30 or above is Corey Blackett-Taylor. So it's certainly something which Derby County need to address. It's something which I think we've known we've needed to address for a while, and I'm sort of a bit disappointed that we haven't yet bought in more. Now, if we do go on to talking about Cauley Woodrow, 29 years old, born on the 2nd of December 1994, currently playing for Luton Town. Obviously, he's never really been sort of a key player at Luton. He's always sort of been a bit part player, and that sort of shows in his numbers recently. So if you do go and look at his numbers, I think he's got something like 6 goals in 61 games or something like that. But last season he played 400 minutes. The season before he played just over 700. It's one of those for me where he's not really had runs of games, and he's not really been able to show what he's truly capable of. Now, if we look at his numbers over the course of his entire career, he's played for 6 clubs: Fulham, Bristol City, Southend, Burton Albion, Barnsley and Luton. He's made 368 appearances, totaling 22,102 minutes, with 95 goals scored, 21 assists, with 34 yellows and 1 red. Now, I was always a big fan of Woodrow. I thought he scored some really nice goals throughout his career. He had some really nice purple patches, as I will call them, because you look at not a similar player, but someone like Jack Marriott. He's had massive purple patches in his career, but he's also had massive drops. And I think you can probably say similar for Cauley Woodrow. Now, if we do look at where the majority of appearances have been, he made 157 for Barnsley, scoring 53 goals with 10 assists. 66 appearances for Fulham, 12 goals, 4 assists. 6 goals in 61 for Luton with 2 assists. 13 and 2 in 34 for Fulham's under-21s, 21, 4 and 1 for Southend, 15 appearances, 2 goals for Bristol City, Burton Albion, 5 goals, 2 assists and 14 appearances. Now, I think he's a player who certainly fits what Paul Warne is wanting, in a sense of he can hold up the ball. In my opinion, he's quite good at linking up the play and getting those wing players and the number 10 player right into the game. Now, he is obviously quite versatile, as you can see here. Can play on the left, right and through the middle. Obviously, if he comes to Derby, he'll guaranteed he'll play directly through the middle, which is where he's made the most of his appearances, with 249 appearances as a striker, with 70 goals, 15 assists, 29 appearances, 9 goals and 2 assists as a number 10. Obviously 3 appearances and 5 goals as a second striker. And then over both wings, he's made 20 appearances, scoring 4 goals and 1 assist. Now, if we do look into sort of the depth of Derby County in sort of this 3-4-3 that we finished last season with, he fits in perfectly into that number 9 role. But the problem is I don't think Mendez-Laing, Barkhuizen and Blackett-Taylor, Jackson suit this type of system. So I've adjusted it and I've turned it into a 4-2-3-1 or even a 4-2-3, a 4-3-3, whichever you want to call it. And I think this suits what we have a lot more now. Obviously, Mendez-Laing played on the left versus Blackburn Rovers. Caden Jackson through the middle, Barkhuizen on the right, but obviously they rotated as the game went on. But the role we're mostly looking at is that number 9 role with Jerry Yates, James Collins, Conor Washington and Dajaune Brown. Now, if you did check out my preview for the Chesterfield game that I posted earlier on today, you'll see that I think Dajaune Brown should start versus Chesterfield to show what he can do in Derby colours, because I don't really think he's been given the opportunity to do that. Now, if we go back to talking about Cauley Woodrow, he certainly fits in. And in my opinion, he'd be our second option as a striker. I certainly think he's better than Collins. I certainly think he's better than Washington. And I think it's difficult to say if he's better than Dajaune Brown, because we've not seen what Dajaune Brown can do at this level. Whereas Cauley Woodrow is obviously proven at this level. And this is sort of the difficulty which I'm having with Derby County's transfer window so far, is we're looking at proven players, and that's fine. But we're not spending to bring in a lot of quality. We're just sort of little improvement here, little improvement there. Now, the best player we've probably brought in this window is probably Ben Osborne. I thought he was incredible the other night. I say incredible. He was good the other night. I do think he'll probably end up becoming a fan favourite. I thought Kenzo looked sharp the other night. But I thought Osborne has been our best player. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for all of my latest Derby County and EFL Championship and League One matchday reviews, matchday previews as the season goes on. We've just hit 1,000 subscribers on the channel. I really appreciate the support so far. Let's keep it pushing. Let's try our best to hit 2,000 as quickly as possible. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. Let me know your thoughts on this potential signing down in the comment section, and I'll get back to every single one of you in that game. Now, I know Mendez-Laing got 2 assists, Nelson scored, Wilson scored, but I thought Osborne was probably our best player on the pitch through the course of the 90 minutes. And it's one of those for me where I just think Derby County should be looking to invest in the future of the squad, because you look at those strikers. I think Jerry Yates is 29, Collins is 32, Washington's 31, Blackett-Taylor I think is 27 now, Barkhuizen 30s, Mendez-Laing Jackson 30s, and if we bring in Cauley Woodrow when we hit December, it may be a loan deal, it might not be a permanent deal, but when we hit December, that means every one of our strikers, every one of our forwards, apart from Blackett-Taylor and Brown, are in their 30s, and we're not sort of preparing that area. You also go and look at sort of like in the defensive areas, obviously, Forsyth's late 30s, I think he's 35, 36 now. Bradley's in his 30s, Nelson's in his 30s. We don't really have players for the future in those roles. Now, obviously, Cashin will be the future centre-half, but he's got a lot to prove at championship level. Wasn't his greatest performance the other night, but then other than Cashin in that sort of 2 centre-back roles, we're not fulfilling those roles for the future. So it's going to be a long summer for Derby County, and as we are coming to the close of it, we're not really improving enough for me in the areas that we need to improve. We still need a winger. Obviously, Woodrow as a striker would certainly improve the options we have, but is it enough of an improvement to be excited about? Maybe. But obviously, if we're going to play this 4-3-3 where we've got someone in behind the striker, as you can look there, we quite clearly need another number 10. So it's one of those for me where it's just really difficult to look at. Obviously, Rooney will sort of drop into that centre-half role when he's back fit, I believe, or maybe even at right back. But we'll have to see what happens with that one. It's sort of a really difficult one. Now, what sort of deal am I expecting? I personally think it'll probably be a permanent deal. Obviously, there is the possibility it could be a loan, but obviously, as if we go back to the first stated report from Alan Nixon, Luton Town need to get their right target before he's even available, and then is he really the right target for us? Now, I do think he fits the mould of what Paul Warne wants, but is he as much of an improvement on what we have where it's going to really make a difference? Now, I do think he's better than Collins. I do think he's better than Washington, and I do think we're in sort of a bit of course, a different position to Luton, who are obviously getting rid of him, and where he's not really played that much. So it's sort of like, I don't think looking at his time at Luton is the right thing to do, because I feel like in his seasons while he was there, they were battling for promotion, they won promotion, and then they played in the Premier League, and he still played games, but he was never sort of the main man. And for us, as a team that is going to be fighting for survival this year, I think he'd be one of our main men in that forward line. I think if Paul Warne reverted back to his 3-5-2, it would be him and Jerry Yates up front. So it's one of those where I do think he could be a good addition, but is he the right addition? Is he really what Derby need? Obviously, your thoughts are welcome down in the comments. Now, obviously, Derby County do need a striker. Is Cauley Woodrow the right striker? That's maybe not my decision to make. I certainly think he would offer more quality to our forward line than what we currently have with the backups of James Collins and Conor Washington. But I'm not quite sure whether he improves the squad enough to sort of take us to that next level where it's not going to be a case of fighting for survival. It's going to be a case of how quickly can we survive. And I think at the moment, I think there's a big downer on the situation because of the performance at Blackburn, and a lot of people are sort of in that mindset of let's not get too downbeat, it's only one game and all that. But it is bad when you lose a game in that fashion against a team which struggled to survive last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how obviously we go over the next 3 weeks until the international break and the window closes, and see where we end up in the league at that point, because that's going to be a very, very interesting one. So obviously, let me know your thoughts down in the comments if you think Cauley Woodrow is the right signing. Let me know what other players you'd prefer Derby County to sign. If you have any names off the top of your head, I know a lot of people will say Joe Taylor, and he's a player who I'd like at Derby County. I don't quite think he fits what Paul Warne wants in a striker, so I can't see that one happening. But obviously, let me know your thoughts down below. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell. Let's try and get as quickly as we can to 2,000 now. We've passed that 1,000. Let's keep on pushing, and I'll catch you in my next video tomorrow, which will be my League One review. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.